Hey guys, it's Mike here, and welcome to another video we're bringing you here today, in which we're going to be talking about WWE and the WWE Payback pay-per-view, which just happened, tonight. And we were just talking about it for like a half an hour, really going into it, and then we realized that for some reason my OBS decided not to record any of it, even though I had told it to record. So right now I am checking to see if it's recording. It is. We're going to try and go through this a little bit quicker, I guess, for you guys. And let's just start off from the top. The very first matchup that we saw of the night, that wasn't on the kickoff show, because honestly, they don't even care about, if they cared about the kickoff show, then they wouldn't have a kickoff show, they would just make the pay-per-view longer. So basically, the first matchup that we saw was a tag team matchup between Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy versus the Vaudevillians. Now, my guest here today is MJ Geeklist from the Geek Lister, YouTube channel, which you could check out in the annotation and down below. And what happened during this matchup, MJ? What happened?
Well, a freak accident, that's all we can call it. They threw Enzo in for the baseball slide. I was assuming that's what it was, and he really hit his face hard against the second rope, down to the mat, bottom rope, and then finally outside, I believe. And bad whiplash, and it looked like it looked bad. I mean, it was bad. I don't know how really else to explain it.
He got sent, instead of getting sent underneath the bottom rope like normally would happen in this spot, he got sent directly into the ring ropes, and he got kind of caught up with his armpit underneath the bottom rope, and his head whiplashed off the second one, and he bounced down there on the bottom of the ground, on the ground outside, and he was just totally out, I think unconscious. And what's even worse is that one of the Vaudevillians, I think was Gotch, ran up to him and grabbed him by his head and neck, was trying to pick him up, and it's that's the worst freaking thing you do in this possible situation. And the ref was like, get the hell away from him, and he called for the X, and the match actually ended. So this was the finals of number one contenders match for the tag team championships. And, now it just seems like that's all up in the air. Because this freak accident, which is really a shame. But in this case, we did hear some information, some updates that said that he had suffered a concussion and everything else came back negative. We don't really know what, the degree of the concussion is. There's many different degrees, but, we both, extend our, thoughts and hope that he's definitely going to get better, because he's definitely, their tag team is like a breath of fresh air. They really are entertaining, the New Day. So it'd be really, a shame if anything postpones that.
Yeah.
So what happened on the next match?
We had Zayn and Owens, which stole the goddamn show, man. It was an amazing match, and I said before, off air and to you earlier, that this match, it felt like an indie match for multiple reasons. And it really was. I really loved this match a lot because the crowd was into it, and he actually had a heel go over clean, which is something you see on the indie. So, what are your overall thoughts on the match, man?
Yeah, the way they built this up with, the video packages and explaining, how long they've been friends together, and building everything up, about how Steen attacked him, Owens attacked him after he won the championship, and how he got injured, and his return at the Royal Rumble. This really felt like a big main event pay-per-view matchup, and that might explain why they decide to make this feud go a little bit longer by having the heel go over, and then Zayn come back later in the night and attack Kevin Owens, which leads into, our next, match. But this match was really good, and the heel did go over, but I feel like it's a temporary kind of victory for him, because in the next matchup we saw The Miz versus Cesaro, and Miz, it was a fun match. Like you said, you really enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. For people who say Cesaro is boring in a sense, you the dude was owning this match. He can obviously work a crowd when he needs to. He can get the crowd going with his train, with his. That sounds kind of weird. He can get the crowd going with his train and with the swing, and he's overall he brings the intensity that a lot of wrestlers lack. Reigns, but it's he brings that. So he brings the fire, like Danny would say. So I
Yeah.
like that a lot, and. The match was good. He carried Miz. Oh, I won't say he carried Miz, but him and the Miz put on a very entertaining match. And overall, it was good because you had Owens on commentary,
Oh yeah.
literally telling, JBL, Cole, Saxon that he is the man and that he's the king of the place and that he is going to win his Continental Championship back. And these guys in the ring, including Zayn, that he just beat, don't mean crap to him. So I love that just right after he beat Zayn clean, he's right back to his heel antics. You know what I mean? That was
Yeah,
very.
exactly. And like there was a big brawl afterwards, and in the end, we actually saw Owen standing tall with that Intercontinental Championship. Which was really cool. Again, it's like I said earlier, it's basically, similar to how when Owens was feuding with Cena, who was the champion, the United States champion at the time, Owens was the NXT champion, he would put his foot down on Cena's, belt and stomp by and say, oh, it's not worth anything, this is a real belt. So, like, it reminds me really much of that. And I'm hoping that Owens continues to be pushed like, this kind of Vader character, like this heel who still goes over clean and is a heel and will talk shit, but he will beat you up in a match no matter who you are. I really like that. I think that's definitely the best way to go with him. So I don't know if that's where they're going to go necessarily. But if that's, the direction they're going in, I'm really happy with WWE's decision that. But what is the
Yeah.
next matchup on this card that we saw?
Uh, Dean Ambrose against Chris Jericho. This match was forgettable. The promos were forgettable. I didn't like this match at all.
Now you cut a rant earlier, so how about you redo that rant or do it, in a way that you want to do it without me interrupting you this time?
Oh, I mean, do I have to cut it shorter? I don't know,
No,
but
just go for it. Just go for it.
I said earlier that Jericho could have feuded with any number of people besides Ambrose. And one, for example, that I picked is Kalisto because he is a Mexican hero in terms of the Mexican audience. That's a big audience to the WWE. So catering to that and having a big heel like Jericho go up against a big face like Kalisto would have been good for business. I would like to say he wins the U.S. title. They have the whole rubber thing going on, the rubber match, and he wins it back. And like in the third one, we would have gotten some good matches. Jericho would have carried Kalisto on the mic, good promos. It just would have worked better than Jericho against Ambrose and that feud, and Kalisto against Ryback and their forgettable feud as well. Also, the thing to mention too is what they're doing with the Intercontinental Championship, which is great. The WWE also needs to do this with their U.S. title just because Kalisto is not built like Reigns. He is still a champion and should be treated as such. He is a legit champion. So when Jericho just comes off of beating AJ at Mania and he's, saying that he's the greatest of all time, he's held all these belts, he's beat The Rock and Austin the same night, and he says he's the guest of his own freaking show. Who better than the face Kalisto, who's an actual champion? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
make the belt seem meaningful. It's but
Even more than that, like I initially had thought that they were building up Jericho to face Roman Reigns for the championship, like for Jericho
yeah,
being like a top heel, like against Roman Reigns, because they don't really seem to have a lot of top heels anymore that can go against Reigns as it is. Like they had to put him against a face right now, and it still doesn't seem like they're pushing Roman as a bad guy yet. He's like, oh, I'm not a good guy or I'm a bad guy, I'm just the guy. But they're still
yeah,
pushing him like heavily. So I just thought that Jericho seemed like perfect to do that because, it would only make sense for him to beat Ambrose. Ambrose just lost against Lesnar at WrestleMania, and they're not really doing anything with him. And, Jericho just beat the guy who was facing the guy for the championship tonight. So
yeah,
realistically, you would think in booking terms, okay, Jericho faces Roman Reigns. But instead, he lost to Dean Ambrose, and I don't know what the heck Dean Ambrose is going to do, next. And it doesn't make any sense. I didn't really care for that. And their match was, all right as it was. Nothing really was bad. Okay, something was bad. Okay, Charlotte versus Natalia in for the women's championship. Now, this is the new women's championship, but I don't remember them really talking about that much, at all tonight. But the biggest thing that annoyed me is that the match ended. Okay, well, let's have something here. Ric Flair came out, of course, with Natalya being her father, and, you know, what the hell am I talking about? I can't even speak tonight. The fact of the matter is that Charlotte came out with her father, Ric Flair. There you go. And I'm actually speaking correctly. Natalya came out with Bret Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart, her uncle. And basically the two of them, you know, were staring across one another. And at the end of the match, you know, I was happy with this at least. Ric Flair got put in the sharpshooter. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that this match ended the dumbest way possible by them doing another screw job with Bret Hart there against Natalya. Oh, wait, Charlotte put her in the sharpshooter. They call it the bell. Rick, you know, he's there. Bret Hart, of all people, like the screw job. Remember that? It's impossible for me to forget it because you've showed it 57 times in all these other matches over the years. I'm sorry, you know, that you couldn't think of something more original. But at least Natalya farting all the time and winning her matches by farting in people's faces was more original than this crap. What do you think?
You said everything that I was gonna say. I'll add this.
Yeah.
The Chicago screw job, Michael. But yeah, that's all I have to say, man, because that's what it was. It was a Chicago screw job, man. It's the most heinous act to ever take place in Chicago. That's what happened.
Terrible. But anyway, after this, Vince McMahon came out, and I'll sum this up really quickly because not much of note happened. Vince McMahon came out, and he's like, so Shane's been running Raw, but I'm trying to think of who else can run Raw. Stephanie comes out, and she's like, me. Shane comes out, and he's like, me. Vince is like, okay, I'll let both of you run Raw. Then the Raw theme music played. The whole segment felt like, you know, the opening to Raw, and it was over. Yay!
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know, like, how they're actually going to run Raw. You know, we don't really know if anything's going to change. I doubt much is going to change. Like, I feel like all this is building up, like, very similar to how Ric Flair and Vince running Raw, you know, built up to where eventually, you know, they decide who is going to run one show, who's going to run the other show. And then, like, they had the match where Brock Lesnar came in, obviously, and helped Vince McMahon win.
Yeah.
But I feel like something like that's going to happen. Obviously, Stephanie's not going to fight Shane, but something will probably culminate in which probably Stephanie will win, or something else will happen where the authority's over forever. I don't want Stephanie to win because I'm just sick and tired of seeing them on TV every single week, and the authority has been worn out since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, most likely. They should have brought back the laptop, man, or
Hornswoggle.
Or better yet, I'm back and better than. Okay, anyways.
Imagine if Eric Bischoff really does come out, like, after this. It's really going to be 2002 again, 3, whenever the hell this happened, that I'm trying to forget because it was all pretty much awful for the most part. I did like Eric Bischoff and some, like, 3-minute warning was pretty great. When he rips off the freaking old priest mask and he's actually, you know, did I just hear myself say 3 minutes? And Stephanie McMahon actually did get attacked back then. And the crowd was very happy. You know, violence against women, isn't that great, professional wrestling? But yeah, like, all of this led into our main event matchup, which was Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles. And after 27 minutes, probably, that's what it felt like, of, you know, 57 different finishes, like, you know, Return of the King, we finally got our winner, and our winner was...
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns wins. Laugh out loud. So how did this win come about, AJ or MJ? I'm staring at this list, and so I'm calling you AJ Styles. I guess you're phenomenal in some ways. So how'd this go?
Well, I can tell you this: I would kick out of the spear. I would kick out of that. But AJ got pinned. 1, 2, 3. Clean with the spear. I will say though, AJ did look strong, and he did look like he can hang. That was my main problem with this match, is how they were gonna book it, because AJ's like what, 5'11", 5'10", but he just looks so small, you know.
I don't think he's even close to that, to be honest. I think that's...
You don't think he's 5?
I think he's five, maybe like... Did you see him next to Jericho? I think the guy's like 5'6", maybe 5'7". Like, he's really not that tall. at least for a
I guess so,
professional
yeah.
wrestler.
Now that you mentioned that, looking back at their feud, Jericho did have some, like a decent amount of height. Okay, yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's my problem. He was like so small
I
that I
know.
didn't know how they were gonna book it. Like for example, Baron Corbin and Austin Aries.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
it was like that. The height really mattered in that match, which is weird because I've seen. Anyways,
Nobody cares
this
about Baron Corbin. That's why he was on the kickoff show. But
this match was good. I'm rambling, but this match was good. It really it was better than what I was expecting,
oh
and
yeah,
AJ looked strong.
AJ carried him to a really good match.
Yeah,
But like, uh, you know, AJ has really, like you were saying though, AJ they have handled it really well to where height does not matter or size. Like they book him as this like amazing ring worker, which the guy is. So like it doesn't even matter who he goes up against because he automatically feels real. And he did
yeah.
have Roman beat twice in this match. How do you have him beat?
He had him beat by disqualification and by countout.
And what happened that felt very reminiscent of AJ Styles, old company in TNA. What exactly happened in this match?
After the countout, Shane came out and said no countouts and restarted the match. And after the low blow, which didn't even look like a low blow, Stephanie came out and said no disqualifications and restarted the match.
It felt like that matchup between Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle, where Eric Bischoff kept coming out and saying, "Okay, we'll extend the match 5 minutes, 10 minutes," and then it's like no DQ, no count out, and then the match just ended in like a no contest because it was TNA.
Yeah,
But this one didn't because Roman Reigns won. Yay. Even though he got attacked by the Bullet Club, who still came out and helped AJ, even though they're not supposed to be with AJ because, Finn Balor should be coming up any day now. And wrestling logic makes no sense. But yeah, they were all beating up Roman, and he still won because Roman has to be strong. And no one really cares.
I'm really interested to see what happens with AJ after the Roman feud because obviously I don't see him beating Roman at Extreme Rules. So
yeah, honestly, like I do like when Roman is not being pushed as necessarily a face right now, but I feel like the sooner they turn this guy heel, the better. And it's certainly the Chicago crowd certainly isn't helping his face run. I'll just say that.
oh yeah, you can tell he's not even playing with the crowd anymore. It's like when he does a Superman punch, he's not looking at the crowd whatsoever. He's just doing that whole thing on his own. He didn't do the whole 10 clothesline thing, it's and I like that spot where AJ kicked out of the Superman punch off the top.
Oh yeah,
and he looked so pissed. Like his face was red. You can tell he was trying to look mad, and he picked AJ up and just hit him again, like to stay down.
Yeah.
Mother effort, basically.
Exactly.
It's like I like that spot a lot. So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, so overall, that was basically our thoughts on this pay-per-view. What would you rate it before we go?
7.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rating. I would probably say about 7. It was a good show. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. So pretty good. So yeah, but now that you've heard our thoughts, let's hear yours down below. We've talked about this a long time. Unfortunately, you can't hear a lot of it, but basically, that's just how it happens. We're tired right now, so don't forget to tell us your thoughts, your ratings down below, what you thought of our review and our thoughts in general, and check out MJ's channel. Give him a subscribe for putting up with all this, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Do it now. What do you wait?
Do it now, you puny man. Who cares about the universe 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Blah.
That's the universe of biceps. No.